Hello everyone, my name is Travis and you're here with Whispering Pines Quail, and I want to show you a little bit of what we do with quail eggs. We just got a shipment in from MyShire Farms and I had some left over that wouldn't fit in the incubator. So here's what a quail egg looks like, and we made some crepes with them. And I want to show you today on our video how we can make some savory crepes and eggs. And also how to make some dessert crepes and eggs that have chocolate whipped cream and strawberry whipped cream on it. So if you stay tuned and you like what you see, please like and subscribe to my channel, and let's get to cooking. Hello everyone, let's get started on our crepes here. So just want to go over some of the utensils you're going to need to get started. Of course, we're going to need a bowl for mixing in. We're going to need a couple rubber spatulas, a whisk. If you have it, an immersion blender works really nice. So I do have one, so I'm going to use it. Otherwise, you can just use your whisk. When we go to cook them, we're going to need a plate and some wax paper or parchment paper to go in between them, just so they don't stick together until we use them. I'm going to set those aside for right now. So our ingredients that we're going to need today is 1 cup of flour. You can also look down in the description, I'll have the recipe there. But it's 1 cup of flour, half a cup of milk, half a cup of water, 6 of our quail eggs, 2 tablespoons of butter, and then a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, which I'm going to add directly to my flour. Give that just a quick whisk. I'm going to whisk it just so that I break up any of the big clumps of flour, and it also gives it a little bit of aeration to the flour. So I'm going to start off by adding my eggs. Now if you're wondering about quail eggs to chicken eggs, it is 3.5 quail eggs per chicken egg, or if you're using jumbo eggs like I have here, it's going to be 3 quail eggs to 1 chicken egg is what I find works the best. So I'm going to add my milk. Now I'm always going to use a spatula to clean out my containers that I have. Matter of fact, I'm just going to put these in the sink because I don't want to leave any of the ingredient that I'm using in the measuring cups or whatever I'm using to hold the ingredients. So I'm going to take my whisk. I always want to start in the center of the mixing bowl and work my way to the outside. What this is going to do is it's going to give me a more even mix to it. I'm not going to get a bunch of big clumps on there into it. And you notice I haven't added my butter yet. I'm going to add that at the end. So I'm just going to make sure I get this all well incorporated. So now I'm going to add my 2 tablespoons of butter. So now, as you can see, I pretty much have a real fine batter. But what I'm going to do is, as you can see, I'll show you again how fine it is. But if you notice, as I pull it up, if you can see it, it still has lumps throughout as I let it fall. And this is where the immersion blender comes in. Now, if you don't have an immersion blender, like I said, don't really worry yourself about it too much. This is more than fine enough, but I'm going to use it real quick here. If I can get it to plug in. There we go. So it's going to get a little bit noisy, but as I spray it all over the place. Always unplug it after you get done, especially when you're going to kind of clean it off. This one's nice because it comes apart in 2 sections, so I don't have to worry about it. But always, always, always unplug it when you're cleaning it off, especially if you're going to wipe it out or anything. You do not want to get your finger in them. They aren't going to know you're there, and it's going to be a bad day all around. So, that in my sink. Alright, so now I'm going to give this just a little whisk here. Or a little stir, I should say. Now the one thing about crepe batter, as you're finishing it off, it does need to rest between your mixing and when you go to cook it. So we're going to let it rest for 45 minutes. It's going to be, like I said, 45 minutes for me. It's going to be a couple seconds for you, so we'll be right back. Alright, so it's been 45 minutes. We've had our crepe batter in the refrigerator. So we're going to give it just a quick little stir, just to make sure that we don't have any bits and pieces on the bottom that aren't mixed in. So good enough. Now I'm just going to leave the spatula right on there. So each crepe is going to be roughly an ounce of batter, which I don't have a 1 ounce ladle, unfortunately, but I just use this little spoon that I got with a chafing dish set. So that's about 1 ounce. And just a real quick spray with cooking spray. So I'm using my camp stove just because it's easier than getting over here on the stove, so you can see it easier what I'm doing. So I'm going to let this get nice and hot. I've already preheated my pan just a little bit. So you want to hear just a little bit of a sizzle when you add your batter to your bowl. You got to be a little bit quick at this. So you can add your crepe. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll the batter around. And I should have been just a little bit quicker. But, whoop, otherwise that starts to happen. Now you can do 2 or 3 crepes before adding more of the spray. Now you want to let this, when you're looking at it, it's starting to get dry up on top. And you want to let it get just a little bit of color on the bottom. And then what you're going to do is just flip it over just like that. Let that side cook. Now I'm going to put a piece of my wax paper down, and then I'm just going to go through and do one more, or do a couple more. You can add just a little bit more batter. You don't want overly thick crepes, but you want to have enough that you get all the way around the pan, like that. And then I put it back on the heat. And then you can use a spatula. I've just been making crepes. Trying to get it where you can see me where I'm working. There you go. Flip it over. And there's a nice color that we have. And it only takes a couple seconds on the other side because the majority heat and they're so thin is on the one side. So about 20 seconds. Got some decent color. Piece of wax paper, put the crepe down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish these up. I'm going to get my rest of my ingredients. I'm going to do a sweet dessert crepe with chocolate and strawberries, and then I'm going to do a savory breakfast crepes with quail eggs, some spinach, mushrooms, onions, and peppers, and I'll make that all up for you. But let me get the rest of these done first, and I'll bring you right back. So we're on our last crepe. I'm going to come around just so I can show you a little bit better. Put this in. Okay, so now as I go around, of course when you try showing, it doesn't work out as well. But you get the gist of it. So now as I'm going, you can see where it's drying out here. And this is where I'm looking at, I want it just to be all the way dried out. And now I'll put it on there, it's pretty well dried. And now I just grab the edge. And being it's dry, there's not a lot of moisture in it. And I can take and handle it with my hands. So now that I'm done, I'm going to get my ingredients for the other part and I'll bring you back. Alright, so we're going to start with our dessert crepes. So what I've got here is I took a cup and a half of heavy whipping cream, a quarter cup of powdered sugar, and a teaspoon of vanilla, and made some whipped cream. I divided it roughly evenly between two containers because one I'm going to take some strawberry puree and the other I'm going to take some melted chocolate, and we're going to make chocolate whipped cream and strawberry whipped cream. But I don't want to add all of this. This is a half a cup of chocolate, and I think it was about a little over half a cup of strawberries or frozen strawberries that I pureed down, and then we're going to need some fresh strawberries. So I'm going to add a good third of a cup-ish. Fold this in. Now you want to be careful when you're folding because you don't want to knock all the air out of the strawberries, or out of the whipped cream. Otherwise you're just going to get basically a liquid. So that's about all the more we want to go for that. Nice look. So we are going to dice up a strawberry to add some flavoring to it. Okay, so we're having a little technical difficulty. My battery's running just a little bit low, so I'm going to speed up just a little bit here. So I got that mixed. Now I'm going to take and reserve a couple tablespoons of chocolate just to drizzle over the top. Or we're going to do the same thing. We're going to fold this in. Now this you're going to want to work just a little bit fast because of course the chocolate is warm and the whipped cream is cold, so it's going to want to set the chocolate. So you kind of want to get it worked together a little bit fast. Okay, I'm going to scrape off the excess chocolate off the spatula. Alright, so there we got our chocolate whipped cream. Now I'm going to just quickly, I'd save more than just that, but I want to get it chopped up before my battery dies. And these just need to be a rough dice is all I'm doing. Now I'm going to take two of my crepes. This over here. Get my plate out that I'm going to be using. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, if you have a piping bag, this works very well with a piping bag. I just forgot mine at work. So I'm going to take just a dollop of each of these, and you can do as little or as much as you like, just what your preference is. And you want to kind of get it towards the end of your crepe, otherwise you're not going to be able to see your crepe. And this is also about presentation. So I'm going to take a little bit of my diced up strawberries. Not only this is going to give you a look when you're eating it, it's also going to give you a texture. So when you go to roll the crepes up, you're just going to fold it in half, fold the other half over, And then what I do is I plate it on my plate. And I keep the fold on the bottom. Take and drizzle just a little bit of our chocolate over the top. Just for some color. Canal of chocolate whipped cream, and of strawberry. Then I'm going to take the strawberry, and you can use a smaller strawberry. I just thought this big one would be a nice presentation. But what I'm doing is, this out of your way so you can see, is I'm just going down. I'm not going all the way through. I'm going about that far, and I'm making slices in it. And this is so that I can fan the strawberry out. So now, get rid of this real quick. So now when I go to fan my strawberry, it fans out like that and gives a nice presentation. Now what I do is I'm going to take this, make sure it's all fanned out, and place it right on there like that. And there would be your dessert crepes with strawberries and chocolate. Alright, so we're going to make our savory breakfast crepes. We're going to take and saute down a little bit of onions, yellow peppers and mushrooms, and then a little bit of spinach. We're also going to take and get 2 of our crepes heating up on our stove top over here once we get closer. Separate it off. Oil is nice and hot, our pan is hot. Start out with a little bit of onions. And into some yellow peppers. And you can use any kind of peppers that you would want in here. So as these saute down, I'm going to heat up my pan over here. I'll make sure that these get nice and translucent. So now as we get these cooked off, I'm going to cook these down. My mushrooms. What I'm going to do is I'm going to build my crepes, and then I'm going to cook my eggs in the same pot that I'm sauteing down my vegetables. That's going to give my eggs just that little bit of extra flavor. Alright, so we got our nice color on our vegetables here. So we're going to add our spinach. Now all we're adding this onto is just to let it wilt down. I don't know about you guys, but I really actually do like spinach, kind of a Popeye kind of thing. Oops, so I don't lose it all. Alright, so my crepes are getting nice and toasty over here. Out of the way.
That's fine.
See some videos that talk about smell-o-vision. I really wish I had it. I know it's a thing because it smells so good. My wife that doesn't like onions and mushrooms and everything is shaking her head behind the camera and no, it doesn't smell good. Okay, so these are nice and sauteed down. Take my crepes, turn that on. Now, as we assemble the crepes, I'm going to put just a little bit of cheddar cheese on the top. And I got a little bit of just feta cheese. It just kind of gives it a nice little pop every once in a while. If you haven't tried feta cheese, it's really good. Okay. So now I'm going to take and divide my filling between the two. Now when you're making this, when you're in between and you're doing this, make sure you shut off the heat on the pot. Otherwise you're gonna, when you add your quail eggs are very delicate. And if you don't shut off your heat on your pan, you're going to burn it. So I'm going to add just a little bit more cheese to this on the inside. And what that's going to do is it's going to kind of act like a glue when I fold it together. And then when I go and roll it over, it kind of holds it all together. Alright, so I'm going to add just a little bit more cheese over the top. It's going to melt a little bit with the heat. A little bit of my feta cheese over the top of that. Okay, now we're going to cook our quail eggs down. So I can leave that right there. So I got plenty of heat left in my pan. I'm going to go with just a little bit more olive oil. I'm only going to do up probably 3 of these. Now you can make as many eggs as you want with these. Oh, I want to turn that off so I'm not getting too overly fried. I'm just going to take and move these just a little bit so I can make sure I'm not getting them stuck on the pan. Alright, so I got my eggs going. I'm going to do these sunny side up. I'm going to give it just a little bit of seasoning. A little bit of pepper. A little bit of salt. Now the key thing with when you're doing sunny side up eggs is, of course, you want to get the whites all the way done. So the one thing that you can do is you can put a lid on this and just let it sit here for a second. Or you can just keep the heat low. But we'll just keep the heat low. I guess I gotta have the heat back on. So one thing that you can do is get just a little bit of water. You don't want much because you don't want to swim your eggs. But then you're going to take and just get a little bit of steam, and you cook the top of the steam or the top of the egg whites with a little bit of steam. Like I said, I didn't put much in there, just like a teaspoon. But that's going to take and cook the eggs, the top of the eggs, just a little bit, and it's going to allow so the bottom doesn't burn. So, a little bit further down. There's some nice fried eggs. Shove that on. All right, and there we go, our crepes and eggs. So from my family to yours, I hope you enjoyed our show, or our video on crepes and eggs and our dessert crepes. And I hope you have a great day, and God bless.